cat, part elephant, part dolphin. I look like a lot of people. I go in here all the time. It's a shortcut, you see? Look at my hat. How am I supposed to wear this?
I would so wear that hat. I think that's the part dolphin.
Who's your friend who likes to play bing bong, bing bong? His rocket makes you yell hooray. Bing bong, bing bong. Who's the best in every way and wants to sing the song to say? Bing bong, bing bong.
He's joining us today. Welcome to According to Lou, and I wasted 30 seconds doing that. This is part 7 of CBT. I think it's part 7. I did it earlier. Today is not Friday, it is Saturday, but I was not in the right headspace to do it yesterday, so I didn't. It's okay. I don't have to be. I don't have to do this. I do like doing it though. So we're in chapter 6, and it is 10 ways to untwist your thinking. Sounds a lot easier than it is to be done. Okay. When you feel bad, you are thinking about things in a negative way. These thoughts and not what actually happens are what make you feel upset. Dr. Albert has called this the ABCs of emotion. A stands for the actual event. B stands for the beliefs of the event. And C stands for the consequences of your beliefs. Including the way you feel and the way you behave. You might be feeling sad or ashamed, and you may want to crawl into a shell and avoid people because you feel so inadequate and unlovable, as the following diagram illustrates. And it talks about like a person getting divorced, and it's not good to blame yourself, just as it's not good to blame the other person either. So one is we're only going to go over 5 because I read really slow. Identifying the distortions. As we discussed in the last chapter, the first thing to do when you feel upset is to write down a brief description of the actual situation and the problem that's bothering you. Next, identify and rate each of your negative emotions on a scale of 1 to 100. I don't like to do the 1 and 100 because that's a lot of numbers. I'm not going to do all them numbers. I think 1 being like, it doesn't really bother me, to 10 being, I can't stand it. Why is somebody texting me now? So I do 1 to 10, but you can do whatever if you want to do the 1 to 100. There's just a lot of numbers. The third step is to write down the end number each of your automatic thoughts in the left-hand column of a daily mood log. You can go online and like go to Google. I don't know if you can see it. You can go to Google and put in cognitive CBT mood log, and you should be able to find like a printable one that you can print out, and that way you don't have to buy like a book. Now, like all of these do have like spaces to write. I don't write in my books, but I will keep a notebook. It's just a lot easier for me because this little space, it's not going to cut it. We need more room. So it is weird. He talked about that too. It's very helpful to write it down. So 2 is examine the evidence. After you write down the negative thoughts and you identify the distortions in it. Now, your automatic thought is usually what has the distortion in it. It's usually that automatic thought, and if you write them down, you can see the distortions in just that alone. That can be very helpful. What is the evidence of your thoughts? Because we feel so bad, we often believe that things are that bad without even looking at the facts. So we want to have facts to go with it, and that's where writing it down helps. Because you can think about facts, but unless you write them down and actually go through them and look at them, it becomes more real that maybe you're not being rational. Bing bong, help. Okay, 3, double standard method. We're almost at 5 minutes. When you have a self-critical thought, ask yourself, would I say this to a close friend who is very similar in me and maybe has the same problem? If you make a mistake or fail to achieve a goal, you might rip yourself to shreds and think, I'm such a stupid jerk. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll never succeed in anything. But if a friend of yours does the same mistake, you probably would be supportive. Why not be equally supportive of ourselves? That's important. We are really hard on ourselves, aren't we? 4 is the experimental technique. When you have a negative thought, ask yourself if there's a way you... Hold on. We're losing the book. I am struggling here. I need the light from the computer, though. When you have a negative thought, ask yourself if there's a way I could test it to find out if it's really true. Sometimes an experiment will help you get to the truth about things. To take a simple example, let's assume, now I already read this example and it is a really dumb example because nobody likes doing this. Let's assume that sometimes you procrastinate. I'm a procrastinator. You may need to balance your checkbook, but you tell yourself if it wasn't such a drag and I just can't do it or it's going to be too hard. These thoughts make you feel so upset that you can't stand to do it. The purpose of this experimental method is to test your thoughts. You can ask yourself, is it really true that it will be a drag? Yeah, it will. It's checkbook balancing. And will it be that hard? Try to think of an experiment and test these ideas. And then again, it has a place where you can write it. Now, with that particular example, I didn't really like it. I think that if you're going to the doctors or you have a test coming up and you can tell yourself all day that the doctor's not going to help you or you're going to flunk on the test or, oh my God, I got to go give this speech or this talk in front of this big crowd, you can see the distortions there that's fortune telling. Like that is, we can't do that because we don't know the outcome of it. I'm so smart. 5, thinking in shades of gray. 7 minutes. When you have a negative thought, ask yourself, am I looking at things in an either or black or white fashion? That's Mexican. Am I thinking of myself in either as either a total success or a total failure? If so, you are probably involved in all or nothing thinking. This is one of the most common distortions. It can lead to anxiety and panic and depression and guilt and feelings of sadness and loneliness and all those bad things. Perfectionism can lead to that, and anger. Learning to modify all or nothing thinking has changed lives of many of my patients. Of course, not me. I don't have patience, but he does. And I strongly suggest you get this book. It is a really, really good book. So that is Thinking of Shades of Black and White. Thinking of Shades of Gray. One helpful technique is called Thinking in Shades of Gray. The basic principle is very simple. You remind yourself that things are usually somewhere between 0 to 100. Again, I can't do all them numbers, so I do 1 to 10 % instead of insisting that they will all be one way or the other. So that's 1 through 5 of this part. Now, next week we'll go over 6 through 10 of this. What are we reading? 10 ways to untwist your thinking. It is not Friday, it is Saturday, but I was not in the right headspace to do this yesterday, so, I took a day. But I am going to continue doing this for a little bit longer, maybe a couple more videos of CBT, and then we'll move on to something else. But I am looking for suggestions for videos after CBT, so if you have any, put them in a comment below. I will read them. I might even send you a heart. It's always Only according to Lou.